See if we can get it running this time. It didn't want to work last time, so let's see if it's working. I've been trying for about half an hour now. So let's see if it stays. It goes live and then it kind of disconnects. So let me see if it's going to work now. Well, I think it's working now. It's working, isn't it? Yes. Wait, where is it? I'm not finding it. Hold on. Hey, okay, wonderful. So everybody know that we're live. Awesome. Everybody, I hope you guys are having an amazing week. It's such a joy to be here with you. Thank you so much for RSVPing for today's event and joining us in the Zoom. Remember that this is a free meditation group that is live streamed on YouTube, and you can also join here in the Zoom. And I'm super happy to answer the questions. You put them in capital letters in the chat, and I'll be super happy to answer whatever question you guys have. Margot, thank you so much. I'm so glad it's working. Thank you for your help with that. And Nick, welcome. You guys are amazing as always. I'm so honored to share this time with you. And I just wanted to take a moment to really thank you so much for all your love and your support and just everything that you are doing. I listen and I read very closely your comments and your messages, and just the incredible, insights that you guys are receiving through your meditation work and the healing that you guys are accessing through your own realizations of yourself, which is the most important thing. It's the most important that you guys are able to see yourself and your own storyline and how you can change your perspective for your own healing. Remember that, all the work that we're doing here is designed to teach you so that you can become your own healer, because essentially that's what's happening, is that you are healing yourself. And what does it mean to heal? It's not that you're sick. It's not that you're broken. Healing means realizing yourself as the whole that you are innately. And it's a deprogramming of all of the programs that we have instilled in our subconscious mind to believe that we are actually broken or disconnected in some way. When in reality, we are in that divine connection, and that's innate. Nobody can break that. Nobody can take that away. That is just a part of what you are, who you are at the core. And all that we're doing when we say healing, is we're just remembering that connection. We are reinforcing, we are repeating that connection over and over again until we completely embody, like it's like a wave band of frequency that is distorted with all the, frequencies, until finally you hold such a strong connection to yourself that it becomes a nice, thin, strong stream of consciousness, right? So that's the thing. When you connect to that stream of consciousness, that's really when you are in that divine communication with yourself. And there is no question about, your connection. There's no question about why you experience what you're experiencing. You know that you're part of the co-creation of the experiences that you're having, and you're also learning and evolving through them. So Nick says, thank you for helping us. I was shown things and you helped me deal with it. Wow, that's incredible, Nick. Some of you are amazing, conscious, lucid dreamers, and you guys are just incredibly attuned to your information. So this is a really beautiful thing that we're sharing together and learning. All right, guys, so let's get into it. I want to really dive deep into a couple topics that are key for this week. I think the primary focus is, one of the themes this week is processing deep levels of anger. And these are like collective injustices, deep emotions within ourselves that are really hard to process and transmute. And these are usually programs that we're holding for many generations. And so, I want to help work with that this week, because it's something that's been coming up a lot for a lot of people. And let's get into it. First of all, I want to mention that following today's live, I'm going to be publishing the class on manifestation that I was talking about last couple weeks ago. And the purpose of the conversation of manifestation is to deepen our understanding of manifestation. From my perspective, the work that I do, my what I've seen, how I connect to the divine and this intuitive capacity. The process of manifestation is very different than it's been taught in most I guess schools today, in the idea that once you just think about it, it manifests. There's an entire emotional architecture to that is key. And I don't really hear a lot of people really talking about that. They talk about the state of gratitude, but there's another element to that that's really, really important for manifestation, which is coming into profound state of love with the body, coming into the 0 point, cultivation of that 0 point. And the cultivation of the 0 point is from which true love emerges, true gratitude emerges. So anytime that, we are holding heavy emotions in the body, feeling disconnected in some way, it's going to be hard to tune into that gratitude at a very deep level. And a lot of people can turn into gratitude superficially and be grateful for, the things that are around you. But that's just like the gateway into the deeper core foundation of who you are. And the cultivation of the 0 point, which is the true recognition of yourself as the all, is actually the frequency of manifestation. It is that magnetic toroidal spinning energy that aligns you in a magnetic connection to the things that you want to attract. And it's something that I've practiced and exercised and tested in the most difficult situations in my life when I really thought there was like no way out. It has proven time and time again, even from sickness, from from the most tremendous life situations, we can shift and turn from that point of experience into something else. Why? Because remember that you are a complete spectrum of light, and that most of us, we're only operating in a very small aspect of that. We're only like operating in a small spectrum of that frequency. So to be able to access into that higher octave of ourselves, it's really important to tap into the whole range. Okay. So yeah, so please go ahead and join me for that. I will post the link below for you guys to talk about that. And it's going to be kicking off a 30 days of manifestation, 30 days of training the body into manifestation. So you will have that included in the course that you take with me. Okay. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about what happens emotionally in the body when we block heavy emotions, when we block or unable to process heavy emotions. I want to share with you that a lot of holding emotions in the body or resisting feeling emotions is actually the blockage of your center channel. And so anytime that you come into a state of overwhelm or emotions that you can't process, this is exactly what is being blocked. Let me actually open my screen. Change the zoom a little bit. It is. Okay. And so every emotion that you feel, every core belief system that you feel, the more that you feel it in the body, remember that emotions are a multidimensional process, and they're not only affecting the physical body, but they are affecting the entire morphogenetic field, really, because it's through the DNA, through the projection of the DNA that projects out into the system. And so remember that each emotion is a bioelectrical charge, and that bioelectrical charge inputs into the system that affects the fascia, the muscle contractions. So one of the most important aspects of meditation in cultivating the observer is to observe which one of your organs is storing emotions and how they contract. Your muscles are usually pretty contracted, and most of you don't realize that. A lot of you that I'm working with in the sessions are kind of just realizing how emotions are actually affecting you. And really, it's affecting the entire body. Every single one of these organs in the body is processing different ranges of frequency. But the fascia, which is the bioelectrical system, conductivity system, the fascia either holds a lot of water where it's nice and flush and full of life force and highly electric, or it's like dried up, stagnant, right? So when we don't have good physical movement, we don't move, when we don't do exercise, when we don't do things like that, that fascia starts to get dried up and stiff, right? It's like sluggy. So that's really important because that's not only happening to your physical body, it's the emotional body that also affects that. As a matter of fact, it starts in the emotional body. Most physical stagnation, most paralysis of our ability to move around, and that sluggish energy, it starts in the emotions. It starts with emotions that we're not able to feel fully, or it starts with emotions that we're not able to process through the body. It literally affects this entire system. And so to open that up, a couple things that you can focus on is drinking a lot of water, which is super important because water, clean water is helping you open these pathways of energy in the body that allow you to move blocked energy. So anytime that you are not utilizing water, remember that water is a highly conductive life force. And the water that you're drinking, depending on how stagnant you are, it's going to help flush out those things. And then from the water, you're also going to be wanting to do movement, right? Which is why exercises like qigong are incredibly powerful. I'm going to be linking below a guided training for the 8 brocades qigong practice. Okay, so the 8 brocades is an amazing qigong sequence that is addressing the 10,000 illnesses that we hold in the body. Okay, so in Taoist traditional Chinese medicine, every single one of these illnesses is linked to the blockage of certain emotional systems in the body. And as you know, these are meridian systems that are blocking the flow of life force, right? So each and every one of these that are these meridian systems that become stagnated. Now, the meridian system, I've shared with you many times, they're linked to very specific emotional patterns that we hold in the body. So you can literally map out in your body what emotions you're holding, what emotions you're blocking. You can map it out. And so the idea is that with this qigong, with the movements, with these very simple exercises that most people can do, even if you have limited mobility, most of these can be done. And even if you have no mobility, what I did when I got very, very sick is doing energy work, even from my bed, moving the blockages in the body, using energy work, right? And so because qigong is the combination of movement in order to move energy. That's the whole point of all the poses and the movements. And so simply by tapping into the ebb and flow of energy. So remember that right now, this entire world, this entire space, it's life force, it's infinite life force, all of the air that we're breathing around us, all of the oxygen that's in our environment, the plants that are around us, the trees, the natural elements, all of nature is just full of life force, and it is available to us at any time. You can literally walk outside, stand next to a tree, and your body will begin to realign back into a natural toroidal fluid system. Okay, so that's why grounding practices and being in nature is so important. Even with your own house plants at home, even if you're not able to go out into nature, if you have just one house plant, you can align with that energy. And then to make it more simple, you ground yourself down to the center of the earth, because remember, the planet Earth is in an infinite system of life force that is available to you. And so we walk around most of our lives just completely disconnected from our connection to the earth, because our attention is externalized to everything that's happening outside of us. And this causes a huge disconnect because all of our life force is coming from the sun. The sun provides energy for us, and these natural systems that nourish the body more than just the skin, or it's not just about vitamin D, and it's not just about the rays that are hitting the body, but energetically, the entire energetic field is actually experiencing a nourishment with the sun, with these energetic systems. So you have all of these resources available to you at all times. And it's not just the earth and the sun, even the moon is providing a reflection of the sun, right? The moon manages the mind. It manages how we are connecting and processing the logical aspect of our physicality. So the invitation is that you tap into all of these resources that are available to you. And even if you are immobile, let's say you're in bed and you can't even get out of bed, breathing, inhaling and exhaling the air, the oxygen that is around you, and feeling love at the same time is one of the most powerful healing energies that you can do. So that's how I was able to bring myself back into health again, and how I practiced running energy, breaking contracts every day to move this sickness along. And whatever is making you sick, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your environment, your body is this incredible recycling, infinite resource of health and protection. But we can only tap into that if we are conscious and we are in the present body, we are in the present moment, tapping into these beautiful resources that are around us. So this is important because you see, because you are a fractal of the earth, your tiny little self on this little continent here, it's a fractal of this entire earth. The entire earth is processing all ranges of frequencies beyond the physical range of frequency. Your body is a fractal of that. So remember that in order to bring the earth back into harmonic order, we want to bring our bodies back into harmonic order. We want to align with these much larger healing systems that are, processing all of that needs to be processed. And this is also a way to, as I mentioned before, healing the earth and changing timelines. So something I want to mention, in addition to processing heavy emotions, a lot of the things that we feel are not only yours. These are things that are being triggered by planetary cosmic movements. And the reason they're triggered is because it's bringing to the surface, it's bringing to the light an archetypal element of ourselves. This year is the year of the fire horse, which is, really ignited these first months of the year, because the astrology of this time is transitioning to major transits of revolution and war and just fire energy. So strong emotions like anger and just overwhelm are really, really strong right now. And so I want you to pay attention to that, not to become a victim of these emotions, but in order for you to take control of yourself, because these influences are inviting you to take a look at what it is that is being triggered in you. And we need to see that, because as we move through this year, we're going to be faced with a lot of powerful, powerful things that are going to change our perspective. One of the things that I was shown is that even though we have a lot of war going on right now, the war won't come to a global, tremendous situation that the whole world will fall apart. Okay, so I know some of you are very afraid of the war causing a tremendous destruction on the planet. Before that happens, there will be an intervention, and the intervention will be from higher intelligences, like actual conscious intelligences. Okay, so what I was shown is that we're going to go through many little civil unrests, a lot of civil unrest. And as I mentioned, slowly and little by little, a lot of systems are going to be tearing down. But right as we are reaching the pinnacle of all of these systems, there will be another influence coming in, and this is interdimensional awareness that will come in. Okay, so there will be an intervention of higher intelligence that will come into this planet that will interrupt that self-destructive aspect of ourselves. And this is happening on a very quantum level in our deep subconscious mind for us as well. Because how do you interrupt those deep emotions of self-destruction or destruction of things around you or fear? It is you tapping into the higher self, you tapping into these higher intelligence aspects of yourself, the multidimensional information of yourself. And so, as I mentioned before, I don't like to use the word, um, you know, when I talk about these advanced intelligences, I'm talking about interdimensionals. Okay. So, and the purpose for that is that this is the activation of DNA. We talked about the activation of DNA coming into this new era. What does that mean? When you come into harmonic order, your DNA is able to activate to a point where you're able to access higher strands of DNA. So we're operating in the most primitive sense from the 4 strands of DNA, which are communicating with the whole body system, right? They're communicating with your whole system. It's the protein that creates the physical body. So now we are creating the multidimensional body. When I say creating it, it means you're becoming aware of that aspect, that creative aspect of yourself. You're just becoming aware of it. It was always there and it was always available to you, but it's becoming aware to more people on this planet that we can access that information. And so the activation of DNA is when the entire solar system is moving through higher octave bands of frequency, everything starts to, the range of visible light begins to lift, right? So normally we can only see the rainbow spectrum of light. Now you're able to see much more expanded frequencies of light. And so the more you come into the alpha brainwave state, the more you can access these expanded states of consciousness, expanded states of light, and access ranges of frequency, not only audio, but energetic, not only that you are sensing and feeling beyond the visible things, but you're able to tap into more. And so you're ready for that. That is encoded in your body. It's in your biology. It's in your physical system. It is necessary for us to train ourselves to, be comfortable with the unknown so that we can see what we see. All of these beings that are coming into our physical space now for us to interact with at a higher level of intelligence, higher level of consciousness, is available to us because the DNA is already activating within all of you. That's inevitable. That's part of this evolutionary structure of this current time. And so when we are processing these higher bands of frequency, you'll be able to see and interact with massive amounts of information, more than just what you're interacting with now. So to process that, you got to ground the body. You have to ground the physical body. So again, coming back into coherence with the planet Earth is the key, because the Earth is actually the vessel of information that allows us to come into all of that. It allows us to tap into that information. So this is going to be paramount for you guys moving forward. Clearing your energetic body, making space for that information, and then allowing you to come into harmonic order, mind, body, and soul. And from there, the heart, which is the most powerful alchemical transduction system in the body, is what is taking all this principal energy, this primal energy of earth energy, right? The physical energy, and through the heart, transforming it into purifying it into life force, which then purifies into the spiritual energy. Okay, and your body, each one of your bodies is this alchemy system. It's an energy alchemy system. You are all transmuting life force through your body. You are the healers of this earth. You are the healers of your body. You are the healers, which essentially means becoming whole. You are what allows this organic system of intelligence to become whole. You allow your entire system of your body, your morphogenetic field, to reconnect with the field, to become whole again, to see yourself as whole. And in the process of seeing yourself as whole is to remember you are more than just this little physical body. You are more than just, this part of you that is, just experiencing this human life in your dream state. Accessing higher aspects of yourself. You can be Pleiadian being, Arcturian being, whatever being it is that you interact with, whatever species of intelligence you're interacting with. You have access to all of this intelligence in your body. Okay. So the more and more that we come in to the 0 point, the more that you clean the debris in your body, the more you allow yourself to sit with the emotions that are coming up for you so that you can feel them fully and inform yourself on what's being processed. Because remember that those emotions that you feel right now, it's not just you, it's all of this. It's all of this. This is your ancestral bloodline. This is your interdimensional aspects of yourself that are all interacting with your physical body, with your consciousness in the here and the now. Your life experiences are mirroring elements that you've experienced in other dimensions. And so processing of emotions is not just limited to now. However, it doesn't mean that you're going to only focus on those other aspects. Everything is done through the physical body in the here and the now. So your attention to your emotions right now, what is triggering you right now, it's the key to the healing of this whole system. It's the key to the healing of the earth. And little by little, as you parse that out, as you clear that out, you are broadening your range of frequency. Becoming whole, essentially, look at how your DNA is only writing this small little slither of information in your whole system. You are all of this. Look at this. This is what you have access to. It's the same as what your brain is processing right now. Right now, your brain is only processing very, very little, tiny amounts of information. But the more you practice the 0 point, you have the capacity to begin to use more of that system, more of your brain processing functions, activating your DNA, processing higher bands of frequency through the body. So let's bring that close to home now. What does that mean in the physical body? We're going to be breaking karmic contracts, and it's really important for us to break karmic contracts on a daily basis. You guys hear me talk about this a lot. But if it's one thing that has helped me so much in my journey, I mean, just so much, it is the breaking of karmic contracts on a daily basis. And the reason why we're breaking karmic contracts is because everything that is blocking, these are blocks in your energetic body, you don't have a lot of room to create, okay? So if you have a lot of these contracts with the people around you, the situations, the same dynamics, the same fears, the same anxieties, insecurities, like all of those things you're just drowning in that energy. You keep repeating that. Your mind keeps going to that. It becomes the only reference of your reality, and it blocks you from seeing truth. Truth is the ability to see beyond these limiting aspects. And so it's really important that you break karmic contracts. And first key to breaking karmic contracts, you need to be running energy. You have to be running energy. Why? Because running energy is reminding your body that you are not just the physical. You are this transmutational engine of energy. That's what running energy is. You're taking principal energy, you're transmuting it through the body, you're clearing and purifying that life force back into its natural state. You're coming back into harmonic order with the body, with the earth. So you take earth energy, which again, it's a resource that is available to anyone at any time, whatever you're doing. You can tap into that resource and heal your body, bring your body back into balance. Whatever you're doing, cleaning debris, cleaning emotions, bringing this earth energy up into the body and moving it through the body. And there's two ways to heal the body in your meditation. You can either take earth energy, which the color of the earth is green. That's the color of the plants. It's the photosynthesis of this energy of this planet, right? That's the transmutational chemistry of this planet has chosen the color green for us. It's a frequency. Remember, color is only right, the blocking of certain color band waves of frequency that allow you to see one light, right? It rejects a certain band of light, and that's the one that you end up seeing. That's the color that you perceive of an object, right? So green is the color of this earth that it has chosen this frequency. And when you're working on these levels, there's many shades of green, right? So the green that the earth has a very specific frequency. When I say color, color is the superficial reference, the external reference, but it's actually a frequency. Okay, so this frequency energy that you bring into the body helps you neutralize the blockages of the matrix. What do I mean by that? Within the physical construct that you're engaging in, your everyday life, you walking around in your everyday life with people, family, friends, you are projecting from your DNA all of your ancestral core belief systems. That's your life. Your life is a result of your ancestral core belief systems. And so this earth energy is neutral. And so you can bring that energy into the body to neutralize whatever it is that you are, you have holding in your energetic body. Okay, and so to break karmic contracts, the first step is to bring earth energy and combine it with cosmic energy. Okay, cosmic energy. Cosmic energy, when we say cosmic, it's such a nice little word, but what we're really saying is we're taking that infinite potential of source and we're combining it with the earth so that we can bring ourselves back into order, back into organic harmony. Okay, coherence. You're coming back into coherence. The entire body comes into coherence when we begin to clear the blockages of the energy body. And remember that your body, because it's such a powerful transmutational engine of life force, when you take that cosmic energy and send it back down to the center of the earth, you're healing the earth. So you heal your body and you heal the earth, and you remember yourself as not just the physical, you remember yourself as the earth. You are an extension of the planet Earth. And so the earth is also healing at the same time as you. All of these levels of information of, that we inherit from our ancestral lineage, we can begin to clear that out through the body. Okay, so to break karmic contracts, first you have to clean your energetic space. And then as you align your body into reading state, which is the coming into that martini glass, you're shrinking the first three chakras, opening the top three chakras, you begin to activate your intuition. Okay. And that's super important because most of us, we're down here. We're trying to create from the first three chakras. You can't create from those first three chakras. It's something that you have to understand. If your perception is informed by everything that's down here only, you can't create, because those are not creative. Those are not the creative energies of the universe. This is think of the first three chakras as your engagement with the physical earth, but it's basically what you project into the physical earth. To go beyond that, which is to create, because that's already been created. Everything that you're holding in the root chakra, in the root and sacral, everything that you're repeating for generations and generations, you're just repeating. And so you keep cycling through those, old programs over and over again. And then you wonder why your life isn't moving. Why isn't it changing? Why hasn't things moved along? Why am I not further? Because you keep trying to move from here and you can't, because these are too dense. These frequencies are too dense. Okay, the body that is constantly in a state of survival, not in a brainwave, not in alpha state. When you're not in alpha state, you really can't create. So that's something that you need to understand. And we'll talk about that more in my course on manifestation, because I'll talk about all of that. But I mean, really, we need to learn how to utilize the technology of this body to biohack our life experience. And so these lower, heavier bandwidths of frequency, they limit your expansion even when you're going into dream state. I mentioned before that if your perception is your filter of reality is from the root, the sacral, the solar, you can't get very high when you leave the body during dream state. You can't. Okay. So we gotta see outside of this, which is from the heart. Okay. How many of you are actually looking at yourself from the heart? How many of you are actually looking at the world from a place of compassion? How many of you are looking at the world from a place of truth? How many of you are looking at the world from a place of unity consciousness? Okay. It's everybody has their own opinions, their own agendas, and all of that is self-serving concepts. It's like just for you to survive. All those beliefs is just for you to survive. And that's all that concerns you. That's this thinking. That's this primitive mind, primitive energy. Okay. So we got to open up these channels. And that's why reading state is absolutely important for that. When you expand and open your heart, your throat, your third eye, now you can begin to see beyond your illusions, your limitations, your limiting belief systems that are not serving you or your bloodline, right? And so the real creative engine is the crown, right here, your seventh chakra. This is where you create your reality. When this is dormant, when you have no idea this exists, the only thing you're doing is you are operating from that little less than the sliver of consciousness of your DNA. You are cycling through all of that very little aspect of your potential. Okay. So this is why it's so important to understand how you function. So you're barely accessing like a quarter of this. Because some of us, we have like illnesses in the body that don't even let us move along in our life. So we're barely operating from this level of creation. So to begin to tap into the creative potential of the body, we got to break those karmic contracts with our crown chakra, because this is from where you create reality, from where you create everything. Why? Because this dimensional body, which is the seventh dimension is your seventh, is the seventh chakra is the gateway into the seventh dimension. That is the DNA of the earth. So what does that mean? You are the DNA of the earth, which is you hold the memory, your crystal memory system of the earth. Within your blood, within your DNA is the history of this earth, of the generations of life that have existed on this planet. It's all within your DNA. And so you carry that. And so like, you see how this dimensional plane, it aligns with the earth. And you begin to, this is the Akashic records. It's the entryway into the Akashic records. Okay. So how you tap into seventh chakra to the Akashic records of the earth. All of the history of everything that you have been, everything that you have the potential of becoming, is through the seventh chakra. So when this is dormant and disconnected, that's because you're down here. You're creating from the primal energy. So we got to train the body to open that up. When you wake up consciousness, those of you that meditate, some of you, your forehead hurts, right? When you start meditating, it feels like this pressure in your forehead because you're just moving that energy. When we're baptized, remember, they put a cross over your forehead. Okay, it's the sealing of this system, closing it down so that your attention can only connect to an external source of power, an externalized perception of God. Meanwhile, your crown chakra is just you're not even accessing that. And our dreams change also. We're not able to access higher octaves of ourselves. So the seventh chakra is the DNA of the earth. That's how you tap in beyond your physical body. You begin to go. So this is just the visible range of light. The root through the crown chakra is the first spectrum of light. And when you start going into the seventh, you're going into the next octave of light. So this is why to utilize this crown, this is the gateway to the higher self. It's to the part of you that is not the matrix self. This is the matrix body. The matrix mind is repeating all the ancestral traumas and programs, everything that's been indoctrinated from birth until now in your body. But when you go into the seventh and you start to anchor the creative potential of the seventh, you're going beyond that, breaking those patterns. So when you break karmic contracts, remember that you want to empty that whole room. When you see the karmic contract room, you're looking at a room full of those contracts. I don't know if I have that slide here, but you're breaking and clearing that because that is holding all the memory of yourself, everything that you keep repeating for generations and everything your ancestors are repeating. That's what you're breaking. And so you can't really break that program unless you are conscious of what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and doing it consciously. There's no such thing as someone else doing it for you. There's no such thing as an easy, quick way. Okay. But there is a way to learn how this body functions. There's an architecture to this body. And if you learn that, then of course it's not going to take you a century, a century, an entire lifetime to learn how to connect to your higher self, right? Now, all this information is available to us and we can practice it now. Okay. So in today's meditation, we're going to, tap into that, break those karmic contracts, clean the energy body, and kind of really hoping to bring you guys into some power this week so that you can come in to your most creative self. Okay, go ahead and allow yourself to come into a state of meditation, ground yourself. Ground yourself down to the center of the earth. You're going to see your connection. It can be anything that feels real to you. Your grounding cord. Every breath you take as you allow yourself to come into a state of deep relaxation and calm. Come into stillness. Start to visualize your protective field around your body, making it impenetrable. As you create your field around the body, notice if there are holes or openings around your energy field. And you're going to start to run energy. Go ahead and pull from the center of the earth. Powerful green life force that comes rushing up into your body, creating a vortex of energy. From source, bring down a powerful wave of gold cosmic energy coming down through the crown of your head, combining with the green earth energy at your center core. And take 10% of that back down to the center of the earth. %80 of that going up your crown, from the crown of your head, coating the outside of your bubble. You're going to take that final 10%, absorbing it into the body, into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cells of the body. Running energy, breathing. You're going to take your first chakra at the base of the spine, shrinking it down to the size of a dime. Into the solar plexus, shrinking down to the size of a dime. Going up into the heart, expanding the heart front and back. Up into the throat, expanding the throat front and back. And go up into the third eye, expanding the third eye front and back. Fill your home with gold everywhere that you are in right now, wherever you are. Fill your space with golden light, setting the intention that we are going to heal the body. Now that you're in reading state, I want you to scan your 13 dimensional bodies, and you're going to clear out all the debris. You can send it down to the center of the earth or send it up through the crown of your head. So you've cleared your space. Begin to observe yourself over the past 24 hours, to observe the strongest trigger in your body in the past 24 hours. Be absolutely present with that emotion in your body. Take your attention to the part of the body that contracts the strongest, and begin to name out the emotions that are in that space. Notice the strongest of these emotions and locate where that is on your body. Be absolutely present with that emotion and name out the emotions that come up inside this emotion. So you're taking your attention to the part of the body in which this emotion is strongest. And you're going to name out all the sensations and emotions. Go ahead and take the strongest of those emotions. And I want you to notice how your body responds to that. Notice what part of your body tenses up the most as you feel and you're fully present with this emotion. You're going to take yourself back to the very first time that you felt this emotion in your life. You can go as far back as the womb. Take yourself there. Wherever it is that your mind immediately takes you, the first memory that pops into your head when you feel this emotion, that's where you need to go. And as you're fully present and you watch this experience, you don't need to relive it. You just need to observe yourself in that moment and notice the emotions that are taking over your body in that experience. Just notice whatever the strongest emotions are and name them out, locate them in your body. Allow yourself to acknowledge the strongest of these emotions. And just notice, what is it that you need in that moment from the other that is there interacting with you in order to not feel this strong emotion. As you begin to acknowledge what it is you need, allow yourself to observe if you're familiar with meeting that need. Have you met that need before? Are you familiar with what it takes to meet that need in your life, in yourself? And allow yourself to notice what it would be like if you were to meet that need in your body. What would you feel? Name it out. If you have anxiety when you begin to feel these emotions, notice what is the resistance to some of these solutions. What is the resistance? What are we afraid of? When we feel some of these more positive emotions, whatever it is, just notice if the body contracts or wants to run away or doesn't believe that it's possible or doesn't know how to feel that. Take a moment to observe and be present with those emotions, with that resistance. And ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Just gently allow yourself to feel these emotions in your body as you begin to nourish yourself. Let yourself feel the opposite of these strong, resistant emotions. If it's fear, what would be the opposite of that? If it's anger, what would be the opposite? If it's mistrust, what would be the opposite? Let yourself become acquainted with those emotions in your body. Give your body exactly what it needs. Exactly what it's asking for. Every breath you take as you let yourself integrate this new understanding in the body, breathing. Allow yourself to process exactly what needs to be released from the body. Allow yourself to infuse yourself with this new state of understanding. If this positive state of understanding was a color, what color would it be? And just begin to feed yourself with this new understanding, a shift in perception. And this is only available to you when you alchemize the emotion. So now that you have informed yourself on another way of seeing things, doing things, feeling things, by assessing your truth in what your needs are, meeting your needs. You're not running away from any emotion. You're not avoiding. You're not bypassing any emotion. You are meeting your needs consciously. Let yourself absorb everything that it needs. Go ahead and integrate all the fractals of yourself from the womb until now that have repeated this program. And go ahead and let go of all the connections to your ancestors that are holding you back, and repeating this in family circumstances. Call back your life force in the body, release what doesn't belong to you. Very good. Go ahead and integrate that into your body, into the root, the sacral, solar, bringing them back into a balanced state. I want you to see a room full of karmic contracts. You're going to shine your crown light on top of that room. You're going to dissolve all those contracts. As you clear that out, you're going to balance your first, second, and third chakra, your heart, throat, third eye, bringing you back into a balanced state. As you come back into the connection with your body, connect yourself up to the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Allow yourself to see your life, yourself, your day from your perspective of the 24th dimension. Integrate your higher self into your physical as you bring source down into your body, into the heart, into the perineum, down to the center of the earth. As you bring yourself back into the body, continue to see your grounding cord and your full multidimensional system. And you can open your eyes. And as you come back into the room, fill your body with love and gratitude for taking the time to connect with yourself in such a deep way. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. It was such an honor to see you here and to share with you. And I'm going to take a moment to just answer a couple questions, and I will let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. Let's go over here to Margot. Can you speak on getting to 0 point quickly while we are in the middle of emotional turmoil? Sometimes I'm off guard. Yeah, so really the easiest way to do that is to always remember yourself. Okay, so this is something that I invite you to do. That's why I invite you to do this work, in your own time, all the time, not just when these difficult moments are happening. But the first thing I would say in the 0 point, in the middle of the emotional turmoil, ground yourself, put your protective bubble around you, because your energetic field are your boundaries. Okay, so usually when we're already emotionally engaged, you have crossed your boundaries. You have crossed your boundaries. And usually your higher self is telling you, gather your energy back, or come back to yourself, or stop in that moment, pause. And we bypass that because, again, we are really addicted biochemically to the stress and to arguments and fights. We're very addicted to that. So we have to break that habit. And how to do that is that immediately, if you imagine your protective field around you, you're going to gather your attention back into your body and just take a moment to seal yourself in your field. And immediately your energy will start to shift. Ground yourself down to the center of the earth so that it can trigger your brain into alpha state. Okay. And if you are super, super emotional, let's say you're having a panic attack, or you're in a state of distress, you're going to want to shrink your first 3 chakras in your field, making sure your field is very sealed. And you can remove yourself. You can go to the restroom, or just take a moment to go to another room for a moment, or just energetically internalize back to yourself, and shrink the first 3 chakras for a moment. Open the heart, the throat, and the third eye. That will immediately take you out of that survival state. Okay, it's very powerful. And so once you're there, take a few breaths when you're there to regulate your nervous system, bring you back into a state of balance. And then you're going to open, if you have just a minute, I want you to clear your energetic body. Okay, because a lot of this overwhelm is the triggering of things that we already have in the body. And so if you clean your energetic system in that moment, so you shrink your first 3 chakras coming into reading state, and you clean the energy body, immediately, I mean, you've done like 10 things to trigger your body back into the 0 point. Okay. So the clearing of your energetic body, grounding yourself, coming into your field, owning your space, and then working with your chakras, which are going to be the most physically shifting that there is shrinking the first three chakras, opening the heart. And then you want to break karmic contracts immediately. Okay, so, run energy, break karmic contracts. It's going to shift the whole day back into a balanced state. It's amazing. Another thing that you can do, let's say that you're in a house with a lot of chaos and fights and arguments. You can ask in reading state to be shown the color that is the frequency of the energy that is most productive for all the souls that are in this environment, in this engagement. And let's say you're shown the color light purple. Okay, you're going to ground the room that you're in. And this really is only something that we want to do with our intimate partners or with our family, somebody that's very close to us, not strangers and not in a huge environment. This is just in your immediate home when you're having these kinds of one-on-one discussions or triggered in some way. You're going to fill the space with that color to bring everybody back into a balanced state. Everybody comes back into a grounded state. Now, there's always free will, so you cannot impose on anyone. But if they are also seeking and consciously being aware of themselves, it will help them bring them back into their center as well, if they choose, right? They can always choose. But what it will do is it will neutralize the energy, the creative energy that you're co-creating in that moment. Can be quite dysfunctional or distorted. You're going to start to anchor intentionally a different possibility. Okay. So this is super important. The more awake and the more you can cultivate the 0 point, the more these techniques work actually. So that's something that you can do. Thank you for talking about the intervention. Yeah, that's a topic that I really want to talk more about, because what I was shown is pretty tough, but the problem with showing these kinds of things and giving you timelines is that people get very attached to them. And I don't want you guys to get attached to these ideas, because we're constantly co-creating our reality. So I can share with you what I was shown as an overall. What I see is that right when we think the war is going to get to the worst point, this is where the intervention will be. And there will be a lot of like minor faults. So what I was shown is like an ocean of UFOs and advanced beings and technologies just filling the skies over Texas and over New Mexico. Okay. And I saw them filling the skies on the West Coast. And I saw them filling the skies on the Mediterranean. Okay. So these three main places. And I also, I see the intervention with China, because there is something that there's a technology that has been developed in China that has something to do with engaging energy from the sun. Okay. And I think the future of AI and advanced technologies and quantum computing is actually the harnessing of the solar energy, which is why they have built a sun. They have built a sun for a lot of different reasons in China, but there's a new technology that is dealing with that. And so there will be a moment where nuclear energy will be trained and tested. And there's a really huge potential of like global destruction as a result of that. And so that's when there will be another layer of intervention. There will be government technologies also coming out that are not the real beings. Okay, the real beings are always looking for peace and harmony, and it's a rebalancing of harmonic order on the planet. So when you start seeing the red lights of the news saying, oh, there's UFOs or there's beings and we have to prepare for war, or we have to protect ourselves, that's when that's the opposing side trying to mind control you and to shift you away from truth. those of you that are contactees, those of you that have had real contact, you understand the relationship with higher intelligences have nothing to do with wars or power over or control or a parasitism in that way. It's a whole different system, okay? And things work very differently. There is an exchange of some kind, but it's a very different level, okay? And it's never going to be for the destruction of humanity, because there's no reason to destroy humanity. Only self-serving, you know, parasites on this earth talk about the destruction of the human race. They talk about depopulation. They talk about master blood races, and there are these agendas of you know, transhumanism, and these agendas of certain bloodlines that are more advanced than others. That's only the human mind can think that. And so, yeah, so it's really important for us to remember that, because on the higher level, you know, we're more than just a reproductive system. We're more than just the food of these parasitic systems. And so it's our responsibility to remember that. It's our responsibility to take power of co-creation. And that comes from everything I'm talking about today: your emotions, your creations, your traumas, you know, your ancestral blockages. The clearing of that, all of that is your responsibility in how this entire human race moves, the direction in which we're headed. It's all up to you. You are not helpless from the change of this planet, and you're also not insignificant, right? So we have a tendency to believe that those in control have all the power and we're insignificant. That 100% not true. Each and every one of you is an entire universe that is interconnected to creative systems. And so once you realize that, why do you think so much investment from these parasites goes into numbing your awareness of that and blinding you from being able to see what you are, right? So the best way to keep you disconnected is to make you believe that you're helpless or powerless in some way. And so it's important for you to wake up consciousness and remember that that's not true. However, that level of creative potential really requires you to work with your own shadow. Those that can't control their shadow, can't see their shadow, can't work with their shadow, never have power. Okay? They have manipulation, which is different, but they don't have real power, real creative power. The real creative power of manifestation goes to those that are truly connected to the systems of creation, which is harmonic order. Okay? So that's why the dark side seems powerful, because they're really good at manipulating. They're really good at creating a smoke screen of illusions and dream, sleeping, putting you to sleep, right? Hypnotize you with music, hypnotize you with the flashing lights of your phone, hypnotize you with your social media, and then fear, put all kinds of fear in you. That's all hypnosis to disconnect you from the natural order, from that higher power. And so that's your responsibility to wake up consciousness and disconnect from that back into your creative power. So that's what free will, you know. Can you please post the qigong link? Yes, I will post that for you guys so you can do that. Please do that. Pam says you have white light blinking in the left side of the screen as you're describing your visions. Nice, that's great. I wonder what that is. It might be this little light here, like crystal. I have this beautiful crystal here. All right, beloved souls. Charles says, since I have a falling out with my children because of my divorce, you recommended to break contracts with them individually every day and find a higher symbol to connect to shine in our relationship. What else can I also do? So when we have complicated family dynamics and, you know, these kinds of repetitive patterns that we have, the real work is trying to take a look at the most traumatic experiences that happen between you and them. Okay, so you mentioned because of the divorce. So the invitation is, go back to those moments in which, you know, they claim in their experience when they share with you, these are the moments that are most traumatizing, and take yourself back to that experience to observe yourself. And what you want to find out is put yourself in their shoes and observe what was your role. What was the role that you were playing? What were your fears in that moment? What were their fears in that moment? To begin to understand what is the resonant lesson in this experience of divorce for all of you. Because when we go through divorces, it involves everyone, not just the two individuals, it involves the whole family. And it's a contractual, it's a karmic experience for everyone. We want to understand, because we didn't end up in that marriage randomly. We don't end up with these children randomly. Everything, we have contractual agreements with everyone. And what keeps us together is the resonance of the lesson we have to learn together. So there are some dynamics here that are being repeated in your partnership. These are dynamics that are being repeated in your ancestral bloodline with your parents, with her parents, and then they're being repeated within them in their own lives, potentially with you, potentially with their mother, and within their own lives individually. So you want to understand what that is, because the alchemization of that repeated program in you is how you're going to break that resistance connection to them. That's how you're going to break the karma of this trauma that is cycling. And it will change your frequency in how you communicate with them, how you present and connect with them, where it won't trigger that anymore. Okay. So there's something that is happening here that is triggering. What is that exactly? Okay. And you just want to know your part. That's the only thing that we're concerned with. What is my part in that? And what do I need to look at or heal or alchemize in myself to address that part, my participation in that? And if you figure that you've done everything that's needed, then it's their aspect to heal. They have to heal that, right? And so we break karmic contracts with all these people that we're working with, because those karmic contracts are much deeper lessons that we might not have yet seen, that we have yet to see, that we're going to see. That's why this deep internal work is super important, because sometimes we're not at the frequency to see things yet. And it takes experiences. We have to live out certain experiences in order for us to learn something or see something. So for example, the resistance to the connection or communication, that might be the lesson for us in some ways. There might be something we need to get from that. Sometimes it's beneficial for us in some ways. Sometimes it's beneficial for them in some ways. So, you know, there's a higher order and a higher intelligence to these experiences that sometimes we don't see yet. The invitation is to do all your shadow work and to be really brutally honest with ourselves. Okay, don't hide behind any fears and insecurity. Don't hide behind any concepts, any ideas. Look deep into those truths. Be very honest with yourself and with them as you're doing this work, to see what is really going on there. There's that saying, the truth will set you free, and there is nothing more true in this universe. The truth sets you free because the truth helps you balance all those imbalanced perceptions that you have, either about yourself, about them towards you. You balance that out so that you can come back to peace and harmonic order with what you do. Okay, so that's super important in that. All right, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for your comments and your messages. Let me see if I have any more. Put your questions in capital letters. When we release karmic contracts through these practices, can they still remain? Is it a matter of having belief and faith that they are really released? Why do they feel like they're still lingering? Right. So perfect follow-up question to what I just said. Because the true breaking of karmic contracts is the alchemization of the core resonance that you're sharing with the other person. Okay. So the reason why in this universe, everything is operating by a self-organizing intelligence. What is that intelligence? We function like magnets, positive and negative. Okay. We're We're magnetically attracted through our field, through our DNA, into the families. We're born into that family that we need to learn and grow and experience whatever we desire to experience. And we attract people, places, and things based on what we desire to experience. And these are subconscious desires, subconscious goals. It's easy. Subconscious intentions. Okay. Your job is to sit with yourself and observe in that brutal honesty, to take a look at yourself. What is it that you are trying to learn? What is it that you need to know about yourself? Okay. And that is the real alchemy. So I'll give you an example. It might be that you have a belief system that you're lonely all the time, and yet you have all these family members, and somehow they're not meeting your needs, right? But then when you start to review, you start to realize that you're actually blocking those relationships. You subconsciously block them because, let's say, you're afraid of intimacy, you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid of not being seen, right? And so those that kind of subconscious behaviors, that's what we want to find out, because that blocking and resistance is going to match you with someone that blocks and resists. So your next relationship can be someone that blocks and resists, and then again you end up feeling lonely. Okay, that's just an example. It's a simplistic example, but it's a good way to understand the under layers of our subconscious beliefs that are actually underneath those contracts. You need to understand that. You need to see that about yourself. And that, again, requires a brutal honesty with yourself. Call yourself out on all the lies that you might be telling yourself about your participation in the creation of your life. That's the real karmic contract alchemy. Okay, there's two ways you can do that energetically. But if you don't clean it internally in your subconscious mind, it's going to keep happening over and over and over again. Okay, so the real shadow work is the ability to really sit with those, emotions, those difficult truths of yourself. And this process that I'm explaining is the embodiment of unconditional self-love. Only a person that is unconditionally self-loving to themselves has the courage to look at their shadows and be brutally honest with themselves. Okay. So let me go down here. Geraldine, did ETs tell you something about the crop circle formations? Can we use them for meditation to heighten our frequencies? Yeah, so I was actually had the joy of visiting a crop circle few years ago now. Gosh, time flies. Like a few years ago in London when I was speaking at the Glastonbury conference for a Portal to Ascension. And it was one of the most magnificent experiences I've ever had. I was shown the technology of crop circles in 2017 in a hypnotherapy when I was working with Barbara Lamb. Actually, she did the hypnotherapy on me. And funny enough, I didn't know that she wrote like tons of books on crop circles and had researched crop circles. But when I connected to her field of consciousness through the hypnosis, I began to understand that the language of the light language, or the alien language, the alien technology, is based on holographic systems through symbology, right? Because symbols are form, through the morphogenetic field, it's a vibrational frequency being translated. And so crop circles are always communicating to us the vibrational frequency. And also, if you were to put a name on the level of ascension that the planet Earth is at any given time, each crop circle is speaking to the level of ascension that the human race is moving towards at any given time. And so it's important to connect to those crop circles. I don't know what that sound is. It's important to connect to the sounds that the forms and the geometry that we're receiving through these shapes, because in many alien languages that I have experienced, it's about the connection to that geometry. Okay. So when I speak light language, for example, it's actually holographic. It's not just the sounds that I'm making, it's like the words that I'm speaking and building and creating holographically. So in the same way, crop circles are geometric imprints of multidimensional data. Okay, and it's holographic data. And when we talk about healing, there's a two things that are happening. Crop circles are also from interdimensionals, not in this dimension, but they're also from the inner earth. Some of them are from the inner earth. Some of the communications are from the inner earth. So sometimes the earth is communicating to us through that. Okay. And it's not something that we use in meditation. It's just like a language. It's just you either learn how to speak that language and you understand what's being transmitted through that information. That's a tool that we develop through our intuitive capacities. Okay, we have to develop that tool no matter what. And you develop your ability to understand more complex geometries the more you learn how to process higher bands of frequency through the body. So the more you clean your system into the 0 point, the more you can connect with source, the more the bandwidth of light that you can see, the spectrum becomes broader, which means that you understand these systems and you can actually see them for what they really are. Now, I experienced something very interesting when I went into the crop circle, which is a healing, healing of the skin, healing of a scar, healing of an injury that had happened. So again, when I see the crop circle from far away, it looks like a sphere that goes into the earth, and the geometry of the crop circle goes into the earth, underneath the earth, not just on the top of the planet Earth. It goes in underneath the planet Earth, and it connects to the center core of the sun, of the planet. The planet itself has another center sun in the middle of the planet, and that is part of the projection of this geometric system on the planet Earth is coming from the sun, and it's also being reflected from the external, whatever is projecting that information. So some of them are Pleiadian systems, some of them are Arcturian systems. That doesn't matter so much as the complexity of the geometry. The more complex the geometry, the higher the dimensional beings or intelligences that are sharing and communicating that information with us. So that's something to note. Okay. What we want to do is we want to develop our own geometry. Okay. So in the same way that geometry is communicated with those crop circles, we in our body, we cultivate sacred geometry in the body. And we want to open up the channels of blocked energy so that we can create more complex geometry in the body. Because it means that you're becoming more conductive. The more conductive you become, the more complex the geometry you can access through the body becomes. Okay, that's really what we want to do. I hope that answers that question and gives you insight into what we can use that for. I had a tiny UFO fly to me and beam pure white light on me. It was so nice. Wow, that's amazing, Laura. Zeus Light says, how do we know if we're being abducted besides finding strange signals coming off my body? So I really don't use the word abduction because true contact or interaction is through our dream state, and it's with higher dimensions. Okay. And so sometimes they can leave marks on the body, but most times when there are really traumatic experiences that feel like an abduction, it's usually more of a psyops and military involvement in that way. So we gotta take a look at that. And if that's the case, if it's more traumatic and more parasitic, we got to clean up our energetic space, and we have to learn how to protect our energy by owning our space. Just as I mentioned, grounding, protecting, aligning the energy body, period. That you do that, and from there, you're able to access higher dimensional contact, which is what we want to do. If you're aware that you have been abducted, or if you have marks on the body, I strongly suggest hypnotherapy to begin to recover the memories of those experiences, number one, and to also make sure that you're looking at your experiences from the right perspective. Because again, remember that wherever you haven't processed your filters of perception, wherever you haven't cleaned your energy body, creates a filter of perception. And so you might only be seeing half of the information, and it might feel like trauma, see trauma, experience trauma, and re-traumatize yourself because you're stuck in that low frequency. So we need to clean up the energy body so that we can make sure that we're seeing things as they truly are. Okay, and so there's many ways to perceive things. We as ever evolving beings of infinite potential, our invitation is to always seek ultimate truth as much as possible, or to come into that ebb and flow of potential where everything is possible. And so the health of ourselves emotionally, mentally, and physical is the number one thing, coming back into that homeostasis, coming back into a balanced state in order to make sure that we're seeing every human experience in the broadest perception possible, okay? The healthiest perception possible. So I strongly invite you to come to my support group. And aside from getting hypnotherapy to kind of review your experience, talking to other contactees is always very important to help recover memories, because we have a lot of memories that we don't remember, or because we don't know. When you hear other people talk about it, you're more informed. You can get an idea as to what you're experiencing. And the third invitation is that you can always access your own information through your own meditative work. And my invitation truly is that run energy, break karmic contracts, go back into that experience, take a look at where you are holding that information in your body. Let's say the scar on your body or marks on the body, whatever it is. And in meditation, you can begin to review what is happening there. And remember, it's not projection. The focus is not that you're going to be projection or confabulating a story about what happened to you. You want to come into the 0 point, as much 0 point as possible, so that you can neutrally observe what is true and what is not true about yourself and the experience. Okay. So so there's many ways to understand your experience. These are just a few. So I hope to see you. If you need support, please reach out. Sky Lychee, love that name. How does one remember how to feel excitement and joy again? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Number one is gratitude. Okay. Begin to observe what you're grateful. Sometimes I'm washing dishes and I'm just overwhelmed with this gratitude, because I'm like, thank you so much, universe, for giving me the safe home and this place to be able to wash my own dishes and, cook my own meals, or, have this peace and the music around it, whatever it is. I want you to focus, be in the present moment, and begin to observe the things that you're grateful for. Okay. Number one. Number two, get out in nature. Okay. There's a scientific research paper that was done on longevity and how humans access longevity. And it's not what we think. Psychologically and emotionally, love wasn't the way to have longevity or gratitude or joy. It was the feeling of awe. Okay, awe, the feeling of awe, like when you see things and you're just in awe at the beauty of a sunset, at the beauty of nature, at the beauty of humanity when they do something incredible. That feeling of awe is something that is quite easily accessed when you go into nature. I mean, just incredible times of my travels around the world where I felt awe, all through my younger years, just in the most incredible life experiences. But you can find it in your own backyard by looking at insects, looking at birds, the beauty of the colors, the intelligence of their behavior. So I want you to connect with awe. Okay, come back into nature. Allow yourself to come back to that childlike state of innocence and reconnect with the beauty that this world has to offer. And from there, you will begin to exercise joy and harmony and peace in your body. Okay, So this is the external exercise. Okay. And some of us, we need that. If we have disconnected from excitement and joy in our life as a result of trauma, how to repair that is these practices. Okay. Internally, it's forgiveness. Okay. So the internal shadow work is somewhere along the way, we have created and built anger, resentment, and judgment towards yourself profoundly. And so these judgments are hindering you from allowing you to feel joy, excitement. You know, we're afraid of life, we're afraid of experiences, we're afraid of feeling, and we're afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of coming into that joy. So it's really important to connect to that emotional state of yours. Okay, take a look at that. And please follow up and come back and let me know how you're doing and if you need support. Okay, much love to you. What are your thoughts on ayahuasca for shadow work? Abigail, I have a lot of thoughts on ayahuasca for shadow work. I want to preface by saying that I have not done ayahuasca. And I'm going to start there because when I first started this spiritual journey, I was not finding my answers outside. Okay, so I would go to these lectures, read books, connect with all the most amazing spiritual leaders of the world, but I needed to hear all of their slogans, like, you know, love is the key, cultivate the 0 point, like things, even things that I say now, like, that's why I tell you, don't take my word for it. You have to experience it yourself. You have to experience it, so you practice it, go, prove me wrong, right, in what I'm saying. Because that's the only way you're going to know what is true. And that's what worked for me. So I went deep into those practices of meditation. I tested meditation. I wanted to see, is meditation really a key? You know, does it really work? Does this shadow work work? Does it work to look at your emotions? Right. And I found the answer to be yes. And as a result of that shadow work, I developed my intuition and I developed a vision into the interdimensional realms naturally. Back then, I didn't know anything about the biochemistry or DMT that we're creating naturally. Did not know any of this stuff, right? That came later. That came later after my contact experience, my intuitive capacities. Again, my contact experience was not something as a result of drugs, any kind of drugs. It was a result of 4 months in meditation, meditating hours of the day, hours and hours and hours. And I didn't even know that would be the result. I didn't even know I would talk about aliens or contact of any kind, right? I didn't know that phenomena existed, basically. Even though I can vaguely remember some spiritual leaders talking about, you know, connecting with the divine, right? But it didn't make sense until I practiced it. And so entering into these levels of the divine, the deeper I did the work, the more I integrated my abilities, my newly found abilities. You can see the world around you, right? When you open your vision, which can be opened naturally. You don't need ayahuasca to open that vision. As a matter of fact, the shamans didn't use ayahuasca to open their vision. They used it to navigate these realms, certain specific realms, by the way, because every plant is connected to specific dimensions. And the ayahuasca dimensional plane is for certain information, certain archetypes of information that we can access. And so when we enter into those dimensions, we can do some work about some aspect of yourself. It's not all the work. It's only one aspect of yourself that you can access. Every plant, every, you know, chemical substance, mushroom, you know, plant, whatever it is, they enter different aspects, archetypal aspects of yourself. Some of them are maternal, some of them are paternal. Okay. So how I don't know that by having done the drug. I know that because I see people that have done ayahuasca. I see people doing ayahuasca, and I see the dimension of the plant. I can connect to that and see it. So my gifts, my abilities to see are not things that have been manufactured. And so if I can do this, anybody can do this. Anybody can do this if I can do this. Okay. So I don't believe that the shadow work needs to be supported by any chemical substance. I feel that you need to do the shadow work and prepare yourself in order to enter into these dimensions. So the shamans would purify their body and their mind before they entered into the ayahuasca ceremonies. For a long time, it took a certain level in a shaman's journey to be able to enter into those dimensions. Now, I am fully aware of the psychological advancements that are coming out in our day and age of DMT, microdosing, things like that to help the human realize their spirit. And I do understand that some people, they will need that because they're so deeply disconnected from themselves. There's no hope. Some people are suicidal. And then, that's the only thing that can bring them back into their body under supervision, clinical supervision, people that know what they're doing, not just a random person that just says, let's do an ayahuasca thing in my home. No, I am not a fan of any of that. Because these things require rituals. You are dealing with natural systems of intelligence that you don't know about. And if you are full of traumas yourself and you're leading these ceremonies, I'm not sure you're going to be able to help the person navigate those dimensions the way they're supposed to be handled. Okay. So, it requires a certain level of maturity and understanding what is actually being done in those systems. And perhaps some of you think I'm too much of a Puritan in that concept or, too traditional, but I'm telling you things as I see them. I think that there is a natural order to these systems and that we need to cultivate ourselves to be able to navigate those realms in a responsible manner. Okay. Because Mother Earth gives us these tools to utilize. Yeah, she gives it to us to utilize, but there's a certain way to use them. There's certain preparation. Okay. So shadow work can be done on your own. You don't need that for that work. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, a lot of people want to run away, not do that work. But you see, if you do an ayahuasca and you are able to see some things, you got to understand that shadow work is not a psychological mental thing. It's a restructuring of your geometry in your body. It's the reconnection of certain tissue in your body. It's the restructure. It's the opening of the meridian pathways in your energy system. You can't fake that by one quick session of ayahuasca. Okay, that is a restructuring of yourself in a very deep way. Okay, so one ayahuasca or 10 even ayahuasca trips cannot mimic the deep work of a deep shadow work that you've done in meditation, really connecting with yourself. It doesn't mean you have to take months and hours. You can do it in a short amount of time if you have the correct tools. But nothing restructures the energy body the way deep integration needs. So remember, when we talk about the primordial energy through the heart into Shen, right? So when people do a lot of these chemicals, they think it's a quick way to enter into the world. They see a couple cool things and that's it. They're good. They got there. They're already there. No, that's only one tiny little piece of the puzzle. And I'm not saying that I'm an enlightened being, right? I'm not done. This is ever like continuous work. The work never ends because it's not work. It's the way of co-creation. We are continuously co-creating our human experience, our multidimensional experience. So that requires some realignment with your perceptions, your intentions, and your light. So anyway, that's my spiel on that, a small little thing that I share with you. But yeah, we're going to have to talk a lot deeper about it because I have that question a lot and it's become it's become such a strong theme right now. A lot of people are doing it, and it's concerning because I also get the people that come to me that are recovering from psychosis, from disconnect, from depression, from suicidal thoughts of doing these things. All of that is true. That happens too. Okay. And there's a reason for that, because we didn't follow the right order, right? We didn't follow. We have to respect the architecture of the spirit in the body. There's a certain architecture. You can't interrupt that process or, speed up that process. Okay. Thank you for that question. Thomas, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you so much. Can you do hypnotherapy or any therapy online? Does it work the same way? 100%. In fact, my practice is now 100% virtual, just because the majority of my clients are international. All of my clients are from all around the world. So I structure my hours so that we can have international times in the morning, and then most American clients from the Americas are booking in the evening times with me. So yeah, so my hypnotherapy sessions are online. It's 3.5 hours long. So please think carefully before you schedule your session. You're going to need to spend 3.5 hours with me, because incrementally we go into the deeper layers. The sessions are amazing, amazing, right? Because the deeper you go into your subconscious, you remember who you are, okay? And we go into each dimensional layer of yourself, deeper and deeper. So yeah, and so absolutely it can work online, just like here, me and you, I'm guiding you through this session, and you guys can have breakthroughs just from these guided meditations. My job is to create a container of energy. So everyone that's here joining me in today's meditation, we have created a container of frequency, and we come into coherence, okay, through quantum non-locality, which means that there's no separation. There's no time and space between me and you at any given time. All of us are connected through the field all the time. And so when we're doing a hypnotherapy session, again, we just instantaneously connect to the field and we do the work. The only thing is I do have strict requirements about your connection and technical preparation. So please make sure you read the preparation before that, okay? Your comments are amazing, guys. Thank you so much, Vision. Vision Vasion. Wow, love Vision Invasion. Your name. Jesus Light. Thank you so much. One Healed Mind. Beautiful. Yes. Aaron. Yes. Ava. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Ava Pisaron. Gracias, Geraldine, por seguir en tu misión y guiarnos. Me imagino que no es fácil. Por eso lo agradezco con todo el corazón. Muchas gracias. Gracias por estar aquí. Les agradezco mucho. One healed mind. Can you expand on that question? Laura says, why are men scared of me when I try to talk to them? Laura, I really would invite you to come to my energy healing reading night. So by the way, for those of you that don't know, I have an energy reading and healing clinic where I read your energy body to tell you what's going on. I have very limited space, so I'm cautious of naming it out here on our platform because we have thousands of people that follow. But if you join us, it's a very small container that I read you guys. It's once a month. And so, you can understand what are the blockages in your spaces, and I tell you what's going on in your energy, and then you can continue that work. So, this sounds like something that I could probably take a look at in something like that, if not a session, a full session. But yeah, let's look at that more intimately, one-on-one, I would suggest. Coop of Ecstasy. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for that shout out. It was such an honor to work with you. Love you. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It was an honor as always. Let me just check here. Where's my Zoom? Yeah, love you guys. Have an amazing week, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Thank you for sharing with me, guys. You have no idea how much it means to me. And love you. See you.